Hey everybody, I am Elizabeth. Super excited. We are gonna go over Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery today. Excited for two reasons. One, because this is sort of my first book review with you guys. And second, because this was my first annotated book I've ever done. And so for those of you who haven't seen an annotated book before, it's pretty much where you mark things, you write in this, and I know some people are looking at this horrified that I would write in a book or highlight in a book, but let me just tell you, I love reading this way. It has made the reading experience so much more personal, interactive. I feel like I am one with the characters, like seriously, like they're my family. And it could just be that this book is amazing, but it also, I think, really helped that I annotated and read in such it helped me read in a really more deeper way, just to be so interactive with it. So this, being able to annotate, I'm now looking at every book that's on my bookshelf in a different manner, and I'm like super excited to get at them. And I haven't been this inspired to read in many moons. So anyways, first I'm gonna go ahead and talk about Anne of Green Gables, which I've had this series on my bookshelf. Gosh, it's probably been about 10 years. Totally different than what I expected it to be. I almost felt like it was going to be like a Little House on the Prairie. That's sort of the feeling I had about it. And I think it's actually one of the reasons I sort of avoided this series. And I happened to pick it up and I love it. I am so enraptured by the character of Anne. And I really love Marilla, who was the adoptive mom of her. Like, those two together make my heart like so wide open. I can't say enough about this book, this series. I love it. Short background of the story. It is about this darling little 11-year-old redhead girl who lost her parents when she was an infant. She sort of went from one house to another. She was sort of taken in to be a helper, never really treated as a daughter, more of like almost like a little housemaid, if you will, until they could no longer afford to keep her, and she went to an orphanage for a few months. Matthew and Marilla Cuthbert, who ended up adopting Anne, they wanted a young boy to help them on their farm. And when Matthew goes to the train station to find this young boy to pick him up, who had been delivered from a friend who went to the orphanage herself, he finds Anne in place of a boy, and there was a mix-up, there was miscommunication. Now, Anne has quite the charming personality. She has a flair about her that is dynamic. I mean, she is dramatic, to say the least, but she's so present. She is so soul-filled. She can see the beauty and the wonderment in everything around her. And like I said, she gives names to trees. She gives names to beautiful areas around her. So if she sees a brook, and let's say it's called, let's say it's just called Barry's Brook, she would say, no, that does not do justice for that beautiful waterway. And she would create its own stunning name. And that's what it would be called the rest of the book. Anne also had she had a record for getting in trouble, not on purpose, but she just had trouble sort of follow her. Wherever she went, she didn't mean to. She was always gabbing. She had an imagination that ran wild with her. Actually, the word imagination, when I went through and annotated this book, it is all the purple that you see. I highlighted every version of imagination that was in this book. So if you could turn and you see my little purple notes, that's the word imagination, because it's throughout this book. It is a theme. She is full of imagination and wonder. And that's what makes her just so remarkable. And this book goes through her childhood with the Cuthberts, who absolutely adore her. Marilla is more stern and doesn't want Anne to know the deep affection that she really feels for Anne. Like, her life has changed having this little girl in her house. And Matthew, who's 60, Marilla's 50, Matthew's 60, he's very open with his affection towards Anne. He treats her definitely like the daughter he never had. And they just both absolutely change in life because of this beautiful soul that has been brought into their life. And it goes over her just sort of maturing, coming of age, and it is just such a beautiful story. Her imagination's crazy. Marilla is extremely sarcastic, so there's a lot of wit and humor when you take your time and read this to catch her sarcasm. And the characters in this story just absolutely jump out and come to life, and I can see why this book is a classic. Like I said, I was really sort of picturing sort of like a Little House on the Prairie, and it does not have that feel, not one bit to me. It was something that I think I finished this in 4 days, even though I was going through writing, putting the stickers, highlighting. I still finished in 4 days, and that was on top of work and family responsibilities. I don't normally read that quickly, so 4 days for me is pretty good. But yeah, it just makes me want to pick up the next book in the series because the characters are part of my heart now. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this review. If you haven't read Anne of Green Gables before, I highly, highly recommend it. It is quite the enjoyable read. Have an amazing day, guys. Bye.